Are you looking for ideas for IELTS speaking? Then watch this video. Hello, I'm Saber and I'm here to tell you what IELTS speaking is, first of all, and second, how to kill it. How to succeed in it. So without further ado, let's dive in. As the first video, I've decided to come up with Cambridge IELTS 18, which is the latest one, of course. About a few months ago, it was published and sent out, and we are going to rise to the challenge and go for the IELTS tests. And I'm going to tell you some ideas and also techniques in order to do very well on these tests. So without further ado, let's get started. First of all, how many parts does it have? 3. You know that. If you don't, so it has got 3 parts. The first part is just a warm-up, so don't take it that serious. And examiners will pose some simple questions like, what's your name? Do you work? Do you study? What's your favorite color? And very simple questions like that. And then they will go for another set of questions. So this will be part 1 and I'm going to focus on that. So for example, they ask you, what's your name? How to answer this question? This is the way we gotta do that. But before we go on, in each video, I'm going to cover some of these simple questions. Then we will do the test, which exists in the Cambridge IELTS 18. So today is test 1. We are focusing on this. Very simple. If they ask you what your name is, then you just say, my name's Saber Eliassi, that's all. Okay? Very simple. If your name is a girlish one, then you say, I'm Zara Safari, that's all. I'm Bob Henderson. Finished. That's all. You shouldn't talk much. If you want to show that you're nice, you just say, nice to meet you. Finished. Don't do much, okay? Keep your energy for the rest of the test. The second question, which is very popular, is, do you work or you study? So I've prepared 3 answers for you. Let's check. A. I am a university student and I am majoring in software engineering. It's my 2nd year. Finished. If you study, you go with this answer. Majoring in means studying. In this case, you will show you know a good range of vocabulary, and this would really make it. So try to show off sometimes by using specific words, beautiful vocabularies and expressions, which will kind of show you are a professional. So B, if you work, you say, I work as a teacher in a language school and I teach adults in fact. Finished. Don't do much. And C, if you do both of them, your work is going to get quite harder because you have to come up with a larger sentence or longer sentence like, I both work and study. As a job, I work at a bank and I also study accounting in university as a major. Recently, I have decided to change my field of study because it seems boring. That's all. Even the last part of it I just said was to warm myself up more. I didn't have to say that. Okay? Let's go for question 3, which is about this. What's your favorite sport? Then you say, I am interested in gymnastics. Some people say I am or I'm. Both of them are correct. If you want to sound more native, you can say like I'm. I'm interested in gymnastics because being flexible is such a good feeling. That's it. One simple reason can warm you more up, okay? B, I like everything in blue. This is about the color. What's your favorite color? Then you say, I like everything in blue. One reason is that blue is such a relaxing color, and the other reason is that it is the color of sky. That's it. That's it. The more you go on, the more you have to show off, and the more the examiner will see, wow, this guy's a pro. Okay? Next, I'm going to tell you a piece of thing I've used, and that was about such. There is this structure, such plus a or an plus adjective plus noun. For example, blue is such a relaxing color. Such a relaxing color. Being flexible is such a good feeling. Because this grammar is B2 or close to C1, not that close, but it can be actually one of them. So it can help you with a better grammar, because grammar is one of the things examiners usually take into consideration and they think it's very important. So, such a good feeling, such a relaxing color. Okay, you can easily use it. Next is the expression or the chunk, one reason is that, blah, 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 blah. And the other reason is that. When you are talking about two things, or two reasons, I better say, the first one will be started with one, and the second one will start with the other, blah, 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 okay? So one reason is that blue is such a relaxing color, and the other reason is that blue is the color of the sky. That was the full sentence I already told you. So let's straightforward go for the questions that are in the book. So the questions are, I'm going to read them for you. What kinds of bills do you have to pay? Bills like electricity bills, gas bill, water bill, telephone bill, okay? The amount of money you pay to the government for using this light, or drinking some water, or for washing, or for using the telephone, and stuff like that. These are called bills. How do you usually pay your bills? In cash or by another method? Another method can be online, using a cell phone, or you can go to an internet cafe to do it. They do it for you. You say, pay this much money for my bill, and they will do it. Then you have to pay that and also the tax. Okay. Have you ever forgotten to pay a bill? Yes, of course. When I was on vacation. Okay, these are some ideas you can come up with. I will tell you later, thoroughly, don't worry about it. Next, is there anything you could do to make your bills cheaper? Yeah, like turning on turning off more lights, or using less of television, or let's say using less laptop or electronical devices at home. This will help. These are the ideas, but I'm going to tell you fully. So the first question is, what kinds of bills do you have to pay? There are two situations. Whether you live with your parents, so there are no bills to pay because your dad or your mom does that. So, or you are responsible for a home, apartment, flat, house, whatever, and then you have to pay them. Which I have tried to be flexible and come up with good, let's say, examples for you. The first one is well. Well is one of those beautiful fillers that can help you with thinking. Taking your time to think, like let me think. You say, just pay attention. Well, since I am living with my parents, I don't have to pay any bills, although I sometimes do voluntarily. For example, 2 months ago, I paid for electricity bill. That's it. Very simple. Still, we need quite short sentences. We don't want to go for some long sentences, okay? It's not the time to use your whole energy. Your whole energy is going to be kept now in order to use it later, okay? So be careful with that. So, first of all, since means because. So, because I am living with my parents, I don't have to pay any bills, although you're making your sentence more complex by saying this. Okay? I sometimes do voluntarily. Voluntarily means like this. So that, I'm gonna pay that. That, let me pay it. Voluntarily. Okay? For example, very important. When you come up with an example, shows you are supporting your answer. Okay? So it can help you too much. Try to take advantage of that. 2 months ago, I paid for electricity bill. Okay? Simple. B. Good question. This way, you are sending positive vibration to the examiner. Come on, I'm giving you a good answer, so please appreciate me. Good question. As I am married and in charge of a family, I always pay the bills, such as electricity bills, water bills, and telephone bills. Okay? So as has got the same meaning as since or because, alright? So, and this is for a person who's responsible for a house, okay? Next question. How do you usually pay your bills? In cash or by another method? I've come up with 3 different answers. Number 1, since the same meaning. The internet, since the internet has been developed worldwide and it has helped with the reduction of paper use, I pay them online. That the must be removed. Okay, it's just a typing mistake. So, but the answer would be, since the internet has been developed worldwide in the world, and it has helped with the reduction. Reduction means using less of paper use. I pay them online. This means I don't want to go to the internet cafe and they will give me this piece of paper as a receipt. So I'm trying to save more trees, more paper, and I pay them online. That was a very good answer, simple. It takes you only 10 to 15 seconds to say that, but it's a very fully answered one. B, I always do it the old way. What does it mean? I mean, I go to an internet cafe and ask the person who's in charge to do it for me. I therefore pay in cash. I go to this person in the internet cafe. I say, please, sir, can you pay my bill? And the person says, yes, of course, I'll do it for you. He does that online. And what you do is to count and pay in cash. And also some tax, because the person did the job. C, like everyone else, I've got an application on my phone which helps me with the process of paying for the bills by only some taps. Tap when you tap and touch your cell phone. I pay them. That's it. And I think C can be the best answer for everybody. So I'll repeat that one more time. Like everyone else, I've got an application on my phone which helps me with the process of paying the bills. By only some taps, I pay them. Remember something. Sometimes you have to speak quite fast. Sometimes you have to pronounce some words strongly. So please follow this rule, okay? Speaking too fast is not okay. Question 3. Have you ever forgotten to pay a bill? Why? Why not? 3 answers again. Sure, I have. This means of course. Once, some years ago, I was as busy as a bee. This means too busy. And didn't have the time to even answer the phone calls. So I forgot to do it. You see, when such questions will be posed, you have to come up with some specific time, like once some years ago, 2 years ago, 10 years ago, last week, last month. This way you can start with telling a good story. And in this case, you can easily come up with good ideas and finish the whole thing. So take advantage of that And if you want to give an example, it's very good to come up with, let's say, expressions which contain specific time. As busy as a bee means too busy, like I didn't have the time to do this, to scratch. Okay, it's not really true. And the person says, I didn't have the time to even, emphasizing, answer the phone calls, so I forgot to do it. B, yeah, as far as I remember, I once got dead sick and got hospitalized. Back then, I didn't pay. Okay, so 2 must be removed. Let me tell you something here. Dead sick means very, very sick. It is used to emphasize it. And got hospitalized means in the hospital, I had to rent a bed to stay so that they would give me more medicine to get better faster. And C, no, I have never forgotten to pay a bill because I am a disciplined person. I always keep in mind to do so. So, disciplined people are people who have got plans like me and write down all the things, they won't forget it. So this person is coming up with supporting ideas to support his opinion. That's it. So let's move on for the following question. Is there anything you can do to make your bills cheaper? You can pause the video here and try. Okay, do your best and try to answer the question. I'm waiting for you. Okay, now as you have done your best in order to answer the question, let's check out my answers. I'm not telling you that your answers are wrong. Remember something. This is important. But these are 2 simple ones. I don't think so, because I have already tried to turn off some lights and I can't do more of this, okay? So this means the person has done his best in order to save energy, okay? So he can not do anything more. B, yes, I think so. For example, I can keep some lights off and also stop leaving the TV on. So this one is telling me that, okay, I haven't tried it, but I'm going to try from now on. And if you leave the TV on, you don't watch it, you just turn it on and then you go for your chores. Next part is part 2. Part 2 is going to be quite challenging. And the reason is, let me first tell you what the process of part 2 is like. So the point is, for part 2, you have got 1 minute. Okay, the examiner will tell you, okay, here you are. I'll give you this paper. This paper contains some questions. And what you are going to do is to take 1 minute, all right? In order to take a look at the questions, make some notes of what you want to say so that you won't forget. And then you have to start and to speak for double time. I mean, you have to start talking, okay, for 2 minutes. So 1 minute for thinking, 2 minutes for talking. It's going to be quite challenging for you, okay? So you have to try it a lot at home, and it's going to take you, time. Try to do it. So in this part, you'll be given 1 minute and have to speak about a topic for 2 minutes based on a cue card. The paper I showed you is called the cue card. It might be much bigger. However, in the past it was smaller, including some questions. Now, what is the focus? I'm going to answer a key question here. So the focus of this part is on vocabulary. The more vocabulary you use, the better grade you will definitely get for speaking. So be careful with the amount of with the number of vocabularies you're going to use. This is very important. For example, they ask you to talk about a place. Write down some adjectives, memorize them already. Memorize those vocabularies in order to talk about a historical place or, I don't know, a luxurious place. memorize the vocabularies, and every time they ask you, try to come up with those words like popping, like popcorn, okay? So do so in order to show them your vocabulary knowledge. All right, this is very important. If you do it, I guarantee you'll get the boundary score you want. But let's go for this one, which was quite challenging and quite challenging for lots of people because this topic is about food and you almost have to talk about a recipe in order to fulfill that 2-minute period. So take your time for a minute, make notes of what you're planning to talk about. Test yourself now, okay? Test it. Take a look at the question for 1 minute, pause the video first of all, take a look at it for 1 minute, and try to talk about it for 2 minutes. You can have a timer on your cell phone and test yourself. If you want to do much better, if you want it to be more efficient, you can record your voice as you're talking, so that later you can, either you have a teacher to give it to him or her to listen to that and help you with the mistakes, or you can listen to your own voice in order to correct them. This is really constructive. I really count on it. So do it now, okay? Before I tell you my own answer. All right. So now that you've come back and you've done your best, I hope you have done that, I'm going to tell you my answer. So I start like this. Well, some years ago, I had a party and invited about 10 of my friends at midnight when they wanted to go home. I asked them to stay over. Stay at my home, okay? Therefore, the following morning, I had to make something. I googled the easiest food to make. Then I came up with omelette. Omelette, that's my favorite. The ingredients are tomato, butter, eggs, and some spices such as red and black pepper, salt, and garlic powder. First, I had to chop the tomatoes and steam them in a pan. Second, I mashed the tomatoes and let it almost boil so that the amount of water on that would be steamed. After that, I added some butter and fried the whole paste. Paste is the substance that comes from, let's say, frying and steaming or boiling some tomatoes, like tomato paste, okay? Finally, I added 5 eggs, because there were 10 people, and mixed it until it was fried completely. At first, I thought making such food can be boring and difficult, but after I did it, I found out how enjoyable cooking could be. Surprisingly, all friends of mine enjoyed their breakfast and I was ecstatic. Look at that kind of emoji. It shows ecstatic, very happy. Ever since, I have learned to make different types of food and also drinks. Plus means and. I sometimes teach my family members to make delicious food. Finished. You see, I talked about where, I talked about the time, I talked about how I did it. Listen to me, for this kind of task, if you just actually say what you did, just you say omelette. Or you made a drink maybe, okay? Say I made some tequila, alright? Some orange juice. If you just say that, you're not going to fulfill that 2-minute period. So you have to talk about the recipe of the food or the drink you've made. So, or if you want to talk about when and where, it's just one sentence. It's just not one sentence. That's even a word to describe it. But you have to use your creativity in order to come up with a longer answer and fulfill that 2-minute period. Now let's go for part 3. Part 3 is going to be the most challenging because most of the mark that you are going to gain is here. Okay, so this is treasure. That is why I told you already, do not spend a lot of time, a lot of energy on the first part. That's just the warm up, okay? Just warm yourself up. Let's have some chit chats. Let's enjoy the whole time with the examiner. But for this time, you are going to come to think, okay, what are the best answers I can make in order to come up with? So this is going to really kill it, okay? So part 3 is the part you have to come up with answers in length, long answers. And the structure we are going to follow is ORE. ORE is opinion, reason, example. So you come up with an opinion, because I think blah, 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 because reasons, and then example, all right? So for this, even if you haven't experienced any of those situations the person is telling you, you have to come up with some kinds of fake answers, okay? Most people say tell lies, okay? Remember something. If some examiners will tell you to give long answers, don't listen to them. Give them answers that are quite a standard. A long answer can take about 45 seconds, not more than that. So let's continue. These are the questions we are going to focus on. Unfortunately, or fortunately, if you're good at cooking, it's about cooking. And the type of the questions are getting more professional and technical. So it's going to be a bit more public, more social, okay? It's not mostly personal. The first question is, what kinds of things can children learn to cook? Then you say, there are lots of easy recipes children can easily learn. And I also believe they should, in order for them not to be too dependent on parents. For example, there is one recipe in my country and it's almost vegetarian. Bread, tomatoes, cucumbers, and cheese. The rest is so easy. You put some cheese on the bread, also some chopped tomato and cucumber. That's it. So, you see, I came up with my opinion, okay? I came up with an example. There isn't a reason, okay? So because it talks about what kinds of, all right? So I try to mostly cover the whole thing with an example. Now, let's go for this one. Do you think? You see, this question is a thinking-based idea. This means the person wants my thought on that, okay? Wants my take on that. Take means thought. So, what we are going to do is the whole technique, ORE. Let's do it and let me show you. Do you think it is important for children to learn to cook? So, I believe it is vital for all children of all ages to learn to cook some food. One reason is that this way they wouldn't be too dependent on parents, especially moms, in order to cook them something every time they are starving. Starving means very, very hungry. As an example, in my family, I can easily cook any types of food, and I, of course, could do that when I was a kid. But my brother was always dependent on someone, and if we didn't have anything prepared, he wouldn't eat, and he would get very aggressive. You see, that was a complete answer. Opinion, then reason, and finally an example. Next question. Do you think young people should learn to cook at home or at school? This is a very hard question. You say, come on, man, how can I know that? This is very hard. But I've got a good answer for you, mate. Before going to school, parents could teach children how to cook unless means otherwise. Children come from two-income families. A two-income family, I mean parents who are employees and they cannot spend that much time with them. A two-income family is a family that both mom and dad are employees or they work, so they don't spend time at home. Therefore, the school can be the best option because they will spend about 12 years, and if a school provided them with some cooking lessons or classes, it would definitely be very productive for all young children. For instance, in one school I know, I have an example here. And seriously, I was just coming up with a fake answer, but I did it. For instance, for example, in one school I know, students have cooking lessons which are optional to take along with other classes. Along with means besides, okay? This can also help any pupils, students, in order to discover any talents in cooking if they do have. So this was a real complete answer. So there is nothing else to talk about. Opinion, reason, example. So next question, how enjoyable do you think it would be to work as a professional chef? Chef, not chef. I'm positive, means I'm sure. I'm positive it would be noticeably enjoyable since I am interested in cooking. Although I don't do much. But depending on different types of personalities, working as a professional chef can be both enjoyable or time-consuming and boring. So there are two types of personalities. One type who think cooking is boring, and one type who think cooking is interesting. Because some people prefer to work as a mechanic or journalist or whatever, but some other people prefer to work as a chef or cook. Let's come up with an example. I have a friend of mine who is completely passionate about cooking, and the way he cooks tastes delicious. But on the other hand, my brother would prefer to eat takeout food every day, rather than cook for 5 minutes. That's why I believe it all depends on the personality. Takeout food is the food that comes from the restaurant, but you use some applications in order to order them, or you call them and then you get the food. We call it takeout food. Takeout food, homemade food, which is made at home, and the food in the restaurant. So, what skills does a person need to be a great chef? You see, the more questions the examiner is coming up with, the more professional our interview is becoming. So you have to be careful with that. Seriously. You have to spend less energy, then more energy, then more and more and more. So if you let's say put a lot of energy for task one, for part one, then you will be like, oh my God, I don't have any ideas or opinions to come up with, talk about. You see, this would be a big problem. So save your energy for part 3. Even part 2 will require time and energy, but seriously, part 3 is something totally different. You have to be at your creative peak, all right? Let's answer the question. It's about the skills. I think creativity comes first. This means it's important. If you want to be a perfect chef, and the reason is that when you are creative, you can easily remake a food that already exists in a different style and attract lots of attention. Guys, as I got an example, just like the pizza. Okay, the pizza was so simple, but nowadays in lots of countries are remaking it and they are adding more spices, more ingredients, and they're making it so delicious. So that's what I mean by that. The last but least is passion. When I say the last but least, this means I want to mention the last, let's say, skill or option. But there are more to talk about. Okay? So you can usually say that in order to say finally. The last but least is passion. You have to be passionate about cooking if you want to make a contribution. Make a contribution means make a change. For example, in Turkey, there is a chef by the name of Nosret who's crazy in love with, very beautiful expression, who is crazy in love with cooking and is also a creative one. One here means creative chef. Okay, so this way my answers are quite clear. Okay, and that's all. Let's go for next. How much influence do celebrity? Look how professional the questions are getting. Okay, so keep your energy. Please do so. Okay, I tell lots of people, but they think I am just telling them the wrong thing, but it's not that. Okay, so how much influence do celebrity or TV chefs have on what ordinary people cook? We're talking about the impact, the effect. That's a great question. I reckon means I think. Cooking TV shows have had a big impact on normal people when it comes to cooking. Believe it or not, in the past we had a limited number of fusion foods. Fusion foods are foods that are mixed in order to create another dish. We could prepare, but nowadays, thanks to TV chefs, people have begun to copy the recipes and treat their friends and guests to some tasty dishes. Dish here doesn't mean some physical thing, okay? It means food, okay? Complete food. And tasty means delicious, and treat means you make it for other people, okay? So they will be your guests and you will be the host. So for example, I'm gonna treat you a pizza. This means I'm gonna buy you a pizza. My mom, as an example, the other week she had some guests and she didn't know what to cater. Cater means cook. As a host. So I recommended her a video on YouTube which helped her with a great recipe. And surprisingly, the guests loved it. That's it. Example, reason, opinion. Alright? And the order of this is not important. But because I want to keep in mind, I have to come up with the opinion first, then the reason, then the example. I can just go in this order, but you can change the style of that. You can change the order. That was the test. This is the test you are going to take, okay? Quite challenging, and remember something. Even if you are 100% perfect, 100% good now that you're practicing on your own with yourself, whenever you go for the test, you become stressed, okay? So you have to manage this situation, your feelings, your emotions, in order to do very well on that test, okay? So try to do your best. The more you practice, the better you become. The more you practice, the more you listen to podcasts and these types of, let's say, answers and samples, the better you become. I really promise that. So I will see you on my next video. And for now, if you found the video so constructive, productive, subscribe to my channel and introduce my channel to other people so that they can also do very well on the speaking test of IELTS. And later, when I finish this process, this let's say mission, when I accomplish that, I'm going to go for other skills like reading, writing, and stuff like that. So I'll see you on my next video. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate that. Seriously, I do. And have a great one. See you later.